Welcome to Entrepreneur Conundrum with Virginia Purnell, where growing entrepreneurs share how they get visible online. Hey everyone, today I am joined by Wilson Zehr, an entrepreneur, academic, and marketing strategist with more than 25 years in the technology and telecommunications world, including work across 6 large-scale startups and over $60 million raised in venture funding. Wilson also holds a PhD in technology and management, and he teaches marketing, entrepreneurship, and business strategy as an assistant professor at Eastern Oregon University. He's deeply involved in building entrepreneurial communities, including launching the Entrepreneurship Club at EOU to support and develop student founders. Welcome, Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I mean, I love all the background. 25 years just seems like even to me.
Well, do you want to give us a little bit of story about how you got to where you are in that blink of an eye?
Oh, yeah, it just depends where we want to start. I mean, that could be a 2-hour discussion or a 2-minute discussion. In terms of thumbnail sketch, I have an undergraduate degree in finance with a minor in computer science. I spent 5 or 6 years as a software engineer working on compilers. I'm not sure anybody remembers what a compiler is anymore. Went back on my MBA and worked on my first PhD, and then moved into marketing and management. So I worked at a software development company where I was responsible for a couple of product lines and the software tools that help me solve. And I managed our strategic relationships with platform vendors, so Sun, IBM, HP, people like that. And then went to a company called Sequent Computers where I managed, which Sequent Computer, nobody remembers either these days, I think. But it was a spinoff from Intel, big deal in Oregon, and it became a publicly traded company. It was eventually acquired by IBM. But I was responsible for our global relationship with Oracle Corporation, about a $300 million business for Sequent, give or take. And then went on to work on my first internet-based startup, a company called Effusion, which was jointly funded by Intel, Microsoft, France Telecom, Telecom Italia. We did voice over IP gateways and applications. Some of our technology is still out there today in use by applications like this one that we're talking on. Since then, worked on a bunch of different startups, including the current one, which is Zairmail, which is like airmail with a Z on the front. Done a lot of work with software, a lot of work with entrepreneurs. In between ventures, or when I find extra time, I usually teach at the university level. I usually teach marketing, entrepreneurship, finance, and business strategy. Have some academic publications as well as professional publications. I've completed the coursework for 3 PhDs. I actually have a PhD and graduate coursework at Harvard University with data analytics. So way too much education, more than anyone should have. And other than that, just trying to find things that are challenging, interesting, and to help out where I can.
All right, I want to touch on that point when you're like, when I have some time, because you seem like your schedule's pretty packed. How do you keep a balance between work and life, or a harmony, or whatever terminology you want to use on it?
And the whole work-life balance thing is, I guess, tricky sometimes. I mean, in the technology industry especially, and it's pretty normal for us to work 60-plus hour weeks. I mean, over time, you just kind of learn how to weave it in, I guess. I've been a swimmer most of my life, a competitive swimmer, recovering competitive swimmer now, still swim 1 or 2 miles 2 or 3 times a week. I enjoy biking, stuff with the family. Usually my wife makes sure that that happens, and she's a visible force in my life. So that usually happens. And other than that, it's just trying to work towards deadlines. I have a funny story I'll tell like that. And it's not a complete answer to your question, but a piece of the answer. So when I mentioned I transitioned from being a software engineer to working in marketing, business development, executive leadership. And one of the hard parts about that transition was that as a software engineer, I would get a list of stuff I was supposed to work on. There's a list of bullet points and dates. And as long as I delivered things by the date they were due, everybody pretty much left me alone. I could go golfing, I could go bike riding, I could do whatever. I could work all night and get my deliverables and turn them in, and life went on. But as soon as I moved into marketing, my first marketing position, what I realized is that the list I had was much bigger than I would ever be able to finish. It was huge. It had dates on it too. A lot of them were not achievable. And so it wasn't a question of if you were going to make somebody mad. It was going to be who you were going to make. You got to pick who was upset this week. I use my manager to help manage that sometimes. Here's what I've got. That I only got so much time. And who do you feel like talking to this week? Who do you feel like managing? But it was a really uncomfortable feeling for me at first. This idea that there was more than I had time to do. Somebody was going to be upset no matter what I could do. Even if I was very rational and purposeful and said, here are the other things on my plate. If you think that your project takes priority on that, which one do you think you take priority over? Let's go talk to the person responsible to that project. People are still upset, and there's never enough time in a day. And managing that process and setting expectation turns out to be pretty important. And that translates over into your personal life too, I think. I have a wide variety of interests, a lot of things I'd like to do, I'd like to spend time on. I don't have time to do them all. Family is pretty important. That usually goes right at the top of the list. Fitness, because I've been an athlete most of my life, usually goes at the top of the list. And then we try to fit in the rest of the stuff. It's important, knowing that not everything will get done this week, but maybe we'll do a little bit more next week.
Did you have to do a good mindset shift so that that never-ending to-do list that never ever got done didn't weigh on you mentally?
Well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes it could be a source of stress. I mean, there's something important that needs to be done and somebody counting on you. Maybe there's enough time, maybe there is. How do I manage that? Sure, it's one, that's part of the job of being a CEO too. You have a ton of demands on your time. You have a finite amount of resources, money, people. You have market objectives you have to hit, revenue targets, partners you have to work with. And managing that complexity on multiple fronts is really what the job's all about. It's not like being a software engineer where I have one thing, and maybe I have multiple projects, but I'm still just doing one thing. I'm writing software to solve problems. If I'm a barista at Starbucks, I know what I'm doing. I get here in the morning, I put on my apron, I've got this menu of drinks to make, and that's kind of what the world looks like. Between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m., my world can change dramatically on any given day, depending on what goes sideways and what goes well and what people want to accomplish and priorities for the business. When you have an emerging growth business or an entrepreneur business, putting points on the board or revenue generation has to be taught. And so if we have opportunities to generate revenue, something else that doesn't fund the business doesn't get top priority right now. And it has to be very dynamic. I can't always decide on Monday what I'm going to be doing on Thursday. It doesn't always will. I do have this theory about strategic planning, though, that I talk about sometimes in classes. This idea about strategic planning is, even though I'm talking about unpredictabilities, if you think about the part, what I can do today is often a function of what I've put in place in the past, yesterday in the past, because I can only work with the resources that I have or can acquire. And some resources take time to acquire or some planning. So some of the things I can do today, I can do them because 2 weeks ago or 2 years ago, I spent the time to get those resources or to put things in place. And then, so you say, well, what about the time horizon? If I have to do that in place, how do I predict the future and make sure I have all the resources that I need? And the problem is you can't really predict the future. I can predict something. I have a greater clarity into what's going to happen an hour from now. And I have very little clarity over what's going to happen 6 months from now. And so the question is, what's that time horizon? Where do we need to try and forecast? And where do we need to find the resources? What resources need to be in place at that time? And if you can sort through all that, you can end up with better plans, but it's also a lot more complex than the way that most people. Is that confusing enough?
I think it's good.
I spent a lot of years coaching youth football. I love youth sports. And I think about when you're passing the ball to somebody, so they're going out on a route, and you can't ever throw the ball to where the person, well, you can try, but usually the defenders converge, right? So you have to throw it where the person's gonna be. And that requires a prediction. That requires a plan and a prediction and execution. And a lot of what we do in the business world is the same way.
That's true. All right. Who do you serve these days? Who is your ideal client?
Company Zairmail, we have a couple of different business enterprises, so that makes it tricky. We have a platform that automates the production and delivery of mail. So we do a lot of work with direct mail. We do a lot of work with notifications. Historically, we focused on small to medium business. So we've done a lot of work with realtors, mortgage brokers, independent insurance agents, landscapers. Local business needs to reach out and touch people just because of the nature of the tool. But over the last couple of years, we've been doing more work with people that are higher volume mailers and people that need to be in the mail right away. And they need to integrate with legacy systems or internal systems of some kind. So we make mail faster, easier, more relevant, more reliable. So we do our production delivery through a nationwide network of production partners. We have our own server farms that host our own software. Usually 0% down unplanned downtime. Have unlimited capacity, the ability to reroute things and spread them across the network. So it's usually people who use mail in a way that is strategic to their business, where the volumes are a little higher, not millions of pieces often, but 10, 20, 50,000 pieces 2 or 3 times a week. And it has to be fast. It has to be reliable. And if their business depends on it, then that looks like our kind of job. We do a lot of work with people in that space, collection companies, law firms, IRS tax mitigation, a lot of different things. And we do a ton of advertising too. Advertising on postcards, just sold, just listed. Your neighbor wants to buy your house. It's just incredible and a lot of variety. But we are focused on the higher volume, quick response, have to go out tomorrow, no mistakes.
Do you want to talk about why speed is important in marketing campaigns?
At some level, it comes back to the same idea of strategic planning, too. The faster that I can respond, the less likelihood the environment will change. At the time somebody gets my message. We think about a campaign, a direct mail campaign, or any kind of a mail campaign, or any kind of direct response, just not just mail. Direct response can be mail, it can be TV, it can be video, it can be lots of different things. We often talk about a formula 70, 20, 10. So 70% is the list, 20% is the offer, 10% or whatever's left is the creative. By the list, we mean the segment or the audience we're targeting, right? We have to be talking to the right person, the person who needs our product or service, and the person who can make the decision to purchase. Secondly, is the offer, right? It has to be compelling in order for people to want to take a respond now, which is what we're trying to do in direct response. And then creative helps get people's attention. But if we think about that data, what I mentioned is 70% of the success, oftentimes, data has a shelf life. What we know about someone, a person, or demographic is true today. It may not be true tomorrow or next week, or we may be the first people with access to that data. The faster we can take access or take action on that data, the more likelihood of success. It can also be something where we're responding. In the past, we've done some work with political campaigns. Right? Somebody wants to get the word out. There's some press or some issue that's taken on a new life, and we're able to respond very quickly to them. So that's environmental factors. The other thing is, if we're doing work where we're trying to feed a call center or something, we've got a lot of people sitting there waiting to answer the phone, and we're going to do direct. I need to be able to turn that on and off. So if I've got people sitting around in a room, being able to send out a piece of and get the phones ringing turns out to be a key. Now, in bigger picture, what you'd like to do is do enough planning so the phone's always ringing. We schedule this every time, but for whatever reason, that doesn't always happen. But the ability to be able to respond quickly turns out to be a key strategic advantage.
You got your PhD in research, correct?
My PhD is in technology and management. I actually have completed coursework for 3 PhDs. The first PhD was system science, and the second one was engineering and technology management, and the third one was technology and management. And then my specialty, if you look on at the work I've done, academic work, or if you look at my PhD dissertation, it's on innovation. The role of innovation, the speed of innovation, what types of innovation people focus on at different points in the life cycle of, types of innovation they should.
Big difference. How do you get in front of your ideal clients?
It's a great question. We do a lot of different things. Like I think a lot of businesses do. We use mail because we're in that business. We have a web presence we maintain. That's in our case, for a company our size, it's probably over the top because it's all hand coded. It's all integrated with our backend platform because we're a software company. That's what we do. But we have a web presence. We have a blog. Have, we have an email newsletter list. We send out to a list of about 280,000 small medium business customers every week. We probably send 1 million emails a month. And we do forums like this. We do podcasts. We do interviews. We do magazine articles. And we do a lot of most of the business that we get. Oddly enough, that even though we do all of the stuff, which is important, a lot of the new business we get is through referrals. People who've worked with us before. And I think that's true of a lot of business too. You can't stop prospecting. That's not healthy. But if you can do a good job and build relationships, then hopefully that's the gift that keeps on.
Very true. So, what are some big goals that you're looking to achieve in the next year or two?
That's a great question. I should have the answer to. I don't know. I don't know if there's one specific goal. And of course, goals would be personal, professional. There's different kinds of goals in different areas. But if we're talking about professional goals, the goal is to continue to develop Zairmail and build on the technology platform in a number of interesting ways that I'm not sure I would share right now because the competitors are watching this. And eventually get to an exit. I'm a serial entrepreneur. That's what I do. I share it. I build businesses. Move on to the next. I love this business. I've been doing it a long time. I've sold it a couple of times. Keep getting it back. We'll see if that happens again. But I have ventures I'm working on too. Sure, some things to do. I wish there was one goal I could give you. There's this one thing that would define success. I just don't think there is.
And that's okay. What's the best advice you have ever received?
Mm. Well, it's tricky. Related to business,
Doesn't matter.
I repeated this just the other night, friend. My mom one time gave me this piece of advice. And my mom's advice is sometimes it's useful and relevant, sometimes not so much. But she once told me, she said, when you're on the airplane, they always tell you that if something happens and the mask comes down, you should put it on yourself first, and then you should help others. Because unless you can survive and thrive, you're not going to be around to help other people be successful. So I think if you want to help others and you're well-meaning and you've got a kind heart and you've got the right spiritual foundation, the inclination is always to help others, to help need and success, which still should be a goal. But at the same time, you have to take care of yourself. Because if you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to do. And that's not about greed. That's about doing the best job you can for everyone. And I think sometimes it's hard to lose sight of that. I think relationships are important. A number of people over time have stressed to me the importance of relationships. And that's always to be true. And in fact, this idea about sales is about relationship building and problem solving. And everybody's in sales, or they should be. But so many people rail against it. But I think it's really powerful because sales helping people, helping other people and solving problems. And why wouldn't we want to do that? And that seems like that would just be generally a good idea. So I like that a lot. And I do like the idea of giving back to others and being able to contribute where you can, even if you don't know ultimately if it'll pay off or if it will ever pay off. Just doing the right things. Just be, you can,
What's the best advice you've ever given?
I don't know that I've ever given it any good.
Now, now.
Another question, I suppose. I don't know. I've shared airplane advice with a couple of people. The most recent advice, the best advice, the most recent advice, I was talking to a friend about another friend that they were trying to help. And I said, once long ago, I mentioned I was a swimmer. So I spent a lot of time around the water in one form or another. And I was a lifeguard for years. And one of the rules they taught us as a lifeguard is if somebody is drowning, what you don't want to do is grab them. You use the pole, you use the rope, use something, because drowning people tend to try and climb on you to save themselves, and they end up drowning you. And that plays into this airplane message too, because if they drown you, you can't help them. So in general, that's a bad idea. So even though we want to help people, we want to make sure that we keep enough distance so we don't allow them to drown us, and that requires some compassion, perspective. We have to choose how we use our resources, how we engage. And some of it we need to protect ourselves too, because by protecting ourselves, we allow ourselves to do more good.
Yeah, it's almost like a tricky part, but it's very essential, like taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of others or help others, just like you've been saying. But sometimes we lose sight of the fact that we still have to have our own oxygen masks on.
Oh, exactly. The resources you might use to help the others, those are accumulated taking care of business, right? Or taking care of yourself or taking care of family. That's important too. It's sometimes it just having a presence helps. Being able to come alongside somebody helps. But oftentimes it's useful to have more than that. And more than that, having more than that is a function of the other things you do.
Very true. Thanks for being with us today. Is there something that we have not talked about yet that you would like to?
There's probably a lot. We could probably talk for hours. I don't know that all of it is important. I think it's important to be a lifelong learner, to be curious, to work at learning, to continue to learn and understand and grow. I think it's important to be compassionate and involved in the community and try to help others. It's important to work on fitness and health, both physically and mentally, and make sure you're in the best possible position to help yourself and help others. I think we often tend to underestimate the importance of family and the community that surrounds us, which not only can make us happier, healthier, stronger, but also gives us a reason to do the things we do. And I think it's good to have a spiritual guide, whatever persuasion that is for you. There has to be more than it's good to have that kind of guidance wherever you find it. So I don't know if that's profound or not, but just a general rambling.
It's always good advice to remember that, right? All right, where can we go to find out more about you and what you are up to?
Okay. Well, you can go to my professional profiles all on LinkedIn, www.linkedin.im/Wilson Zehr. I have a website for my academic work. It's www.wilsonzehr.com. I'm on Google Scholar. You can see it there. And the current business opportunity we're working on is called Zairmail. It's like airmail with a Z on the front. So www.zairmail.com. And we do have a new application called Speedy, which is a desktop application which will allow you to send a letter, a real letter, physical mail, right from your desktop. You just drop a Word doc or a PDF or something on it. The application is absolutely free. You just drop your document on it and says, where do you want to mail it? You type in an address, it sends out a real letter. We'd love to have everybody give that a try. It's no cost. If you use mail at all, you'll find it to be a life changer. Love to have you give it a try.
Get us addicted on it, right?
Well,
Perfect. Oh, do you mail? Is it just within the US, just the continental US? Where do you mail to?
we produce mail only in the US, but we mail anywhere in the world.
Okay.
So if we have to go outside the country, we'll just put an international postage stamp. But we do have a worldwide reach. But production is here in the US. And we do produce across the United States. So, Oregon, California, Colorado, Maryland, Florida.
So kind of wherever we're going to send the bulk of our stuff to kind of depends where it's going to get printed.
Right. Well, one of the benefits of a solution like ours is that you route the mail electronically as far as you can and then turn it into physical mail. So it moves faster. It's better for the environment. It allows us to do load balancing, looking at where delivery is happening and look at things like time of day, capacity, things like that. So it allows us to bring more sophisticated logistics to an old tool like mail. It is giving it a new look and feel.
So if I'm in Canada, I can use your services?
Of course.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you again for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Virginia. I really appreciate it. It's been fun talking. And if you look at the Zairmail site, there's a big toll-free number right on it. 888-898-0066. We're always there. Somebody answers the phone 24 hours a day. Sometimes it's me. So give us a call, shoot us an email. We're always happy to talk.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to subscribe and leave some love through a review. And I'll catch you on the next episode.